The Grand Council spire rose above the gas clouds of Arvin Prime like a silver spear piercing the heavens. Inside its glowing chamber, the rulers of the galaxy gathered in their jeweled seats, reptilian warlords, insectoid queens, crystalline scholars, and towering beings of light. Every seat shimmered with power, and every gaze was locked on a single figure. A lone human stood at the center of the marble floor. His name was Commander Adrian Holt, Earth's chosen voice before the galaxy. His uniform was plain compared to the shimmering robes and armor around him. His hands rested calmly on a small black case, being faintly with energy only he seemed to notice. From the tiered seats above, laughter erupted like a storm. Holographic projections filled the air grainy. Videos of Earth's ancient tanks crawling across muddy battlefields. Iron beasts on rattling treads, firing shells that looked like sparks compared to the Council's sleek plasma lances. A Velen warlord, scales glittering like jagged emeralds, slammed his claw against the railing. Is this a joke? This is the war power of humanity? Rusted machines dragging their bellies through dirt. An insectoid matriarch clicked her mandibles in disgust. Fragile flesh things hiding in shells of metal. You call this an army? We split moons with our fleets. You bring us toys. The chamber roared with laughter again, louder this time. The sound rolled through the vast hall, shaking the banners of empires that had lasted for millennia. Billions? Across the stars, tuned into the live broadcast, laughed along. Humanity was being mocked before the galaxy. Commander Holt stood silent. His jaw tightened, but his eyes never wavered. Inside, anger burned like a star. He remembered the ruins of Shanghai, the craters of Berlin, the oceans choked with the dead when Earth fought its own wars. Those tanks, the ones the aliens mocked, had not been toys. They had been humanity's training ground. Finally, Holt lifted his head. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the laughter like a blade. You think you know us. You think those tanks were the best we had. But you are wrong. Those were lessons, and we have not forgotten what we learned. The chamber hushed. Aliens leaned forward, curious. The laughter died in their throats. Ambassador Lyra Vey, of the crystalline Ilari, rose. Her shimmering body glowed with shifting colors. Human, she said softly, her voice like breaking glass. What are you hiding? The black case at Holt's side pulsed with a strange light. His hand tightened around it, and at that moment, the lights of the council chamber flickered. Across the galaxy, holoscreens rippled with static. Beings on 1,000 worlds frowned, tapping their displays. I'm sure if the broadcast was failing, then the camera feed steadied behind Holt. On the massive screen, the view of Earth's orbit had changed. The stars were gone. In their place was only darkness. Something vast was rising from the oceans below. In the Pacific, water rose in towering walls. Fishing vessels capsized as a shadow larger than a city surged upward. Metal groaned, waves boiled, and then it appeared an impossible shape of steel and fire, breaking free of the deep, a warship unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. It was not sleek or elegant like the Council's vessels. It was brutal, angular, armored with layers of blackened alloy. The ship rose higher, water cascading down its sides in waterfalls, its engines lit, glowing a fierce blue that turned the night sky into dawn. On the council floor, silence reigned. The Velen warlord's mouth opened, but no sound came. The insectoid matriarch froze, her mandibles twitching. Even the ancient Ilari shimmered with alarm. This cannot be, one whispered above Earth. The Un's Revenant locked its colossal plasma cannon onto the nearest alien cruiser, far beneath the waves. Hidden for centuries, the Phoenix Initiative had prepared for this very day. Dr. Celine Aurora, lead scientist of the project, stood in a glowing control chamber. Her voice was steady, though her eyes shone with both fear and pride. For generations, they mocked our tanks. They thought we were weak. But those machines, they were not our weapons. They were training grounds. The real weapons slept here. Beneath the oceans, Adrian Holt's hologram flickered before her. Are they ready? Celine glanced at the glowing consoles. Reactor stable. Systems online. The Titans. they're waking. The chamber vibrated as ancient engines roared. The Revenant rose into the heavens, joined by another massive silhouette breaching from the Atlantic, the UN's horizon. On Earth's surface, billions looked up, mouths open in awe, tears streaming down their faces. The world had mocked them, enslaved them, called them primitives. But tonight, humanity's true fleet was rising. Back in the council chamber, the delegates erupted. "You deceived us," shouted a horned warlord. "This is a violation of the accord," hissed another. "They were never supposed to have ships." Lyra Vey raised her crystalline hand. Her voice rang like a bell. "Look closer, these are not new ships. These are ancient, older than the council itself. Do you not feel the hum of their cores? That power is not of this age." Zarektol, the insectoid admiral, bared his mandibles in fury. "Silence, traitor. They will die before their machines leave orbit." But his compound eyes flicked nervously back to the image of the Revenant, its cannon glowing brighter, charging with a light that rivaled the stars. On the Vindicator's bridge, Captain Amara Vance stood ready. Her crew watched her with a mixture of fear and trust. "Target locked," the AI intoned. "Fire," Amara ordered. The Revenant's cannon erupted. A beam of pure starfire cut through the void. The alien cruiser on the screen flared white, then vanished. No wreckage, no explosion, just erasure. Gasps filled the council chamber. Across the galaxy, billions of aliens stared in silence. The invincible council fleet had just lost a ship in a single shot. On Earth, the cheers began to rise. Families in shelters screamed in joy. Soldiers on ancient tanks slammed their fists against steel hulls. For the first time, humanity was no longer laughingstock. They were legend reborn, but above Earth. The alien fleet was not finished. Thousands of silver warships turned as one, cannons glowing white-hot. The alien commander's voice boomed through. "The comes, you dare challenge us with these monsters. Very well, if you wish for war, then war you shall have." The skies above Earth lit up with thousands of incoming plasma lances. The blue shields of the Revenant flared as the first blasts struck, shaking the Titan to its core. On the bridge, Amara gripped the chair. Her eyes locked on the storm of fire descending toward Earth. The crew braced themselves, faces pale but unyielding. Elias Holt, standing in the council chamber, clenched the glowing black case. He whispered, so quietly only Lyra Vey could hear. "They wanted to see our strength. Now they will." The alien cannons roared. The screen goes black, the sea boiled, the dark waters of the Pacific. Ocean twisted and heaved as if something beneath was alive. Fishermen abandoned their vessels. Waves taller than skyscrapers rose, glowing from within. The night sky reflected blue fire across the horizon. And millions of people along the coasts stood frozen, watching. From the deep trench, an impossible shadow moved. Metal scraped against stone, louder than thunder. A column of water exploded. Upward, and through the storm of spray and steam, a mountain of blackened steel emerged. It was no tank. It was no submarine. It was a Titan-class warship. The UN's Revenant clawed its way free of the abyss, its armored hull dripping with oceans. Its engines burned to life, sending rivers of fire and water streaming behind it. The warship rose higher, breaking the clouds, casting a massive shadow across half the Pacific. On the decks of battered aircraft carriers, human soldiers stared upward, mouths open, tears mixing with rain. "It's real," one whispered. Legends, they're real. Above Earth, the alien fleet reoriented itself. Sleek silver warships turned their guns toward the rising giant. Their laughter had died. Now, only silence filled the void. The council broadcast cut back in. Delegates leaned forward in stunned disbelief. The Velen warlord who had mocked humanity's tanks hissed in shock. What? What is that?" Adrian Holt raised the black case in his hand. The glowing symbols pulsed. "That," he said, his voice steady, "is what you feared we would never find. Our ancestors built weapons not of soil and steel, but of stars themselves." The chamber erupted into chaos. Far below the oceans, deep within a vast hidden hangar, Dr. Selena Aurora and her team raced between glowing consoles. "Systems are online," one technician cried. "Reactor stability holding, core is humming at 90%. Celine gripped the railing as the room trembled. She had worked her entire life for this day, yet the scale of what she witnessed still left her breathless. The Phoenix Initiative, once thought a myth, was real. Out. 8 warships, each the size of a floating continent, buried beneath Earth's oceans for centuries. She whispered to herself, "We were never meant to fight with tanks. We were meant to command gods." Screens lit up with another alert. Deep beneath the Arctic, ice cracked like shattered glass. Another Titan stirred. The UN's horizon rose from frozen depths, shards of ice crashing from its hull as its engines ignited. In the Atlantic, the UN's Dominion clawed free, water cascading from its armored body. All across the world, more oceans churned. The Phoenix fleet was waking. In London, where the ruins of the old city still stood, people filled the streets, eyes fixed on the glowing streaks rising into the dark sky. "They said we were weak," an old soldier whispered, saluting as a Titan's shadow crossed the clouds. They had no idea. In Lagos, children climbed onto rooftops to watch the blue fire rising into the heavens. Their parents pulled them close, tears running down their cheeks. For centuries, humanity had been mocked, beaten, and pushed aside. Tonight, the whole world saw the truth. Earth had not been broken. Earth had been waiting. The chant spread again, from city to city, from continent to continent. Humanity endures. Humanity fights back. Inside the council chamber, the alien leaders were no longer laughing. Their glowing eyes darted from one another to the central hologram. 8. "There are 8 of them," hissed a scaled delegate, her claws shaking. "That's impossible," said a crystalline Ilari, their body pulsing red with fear. "They're not council designs," another voice cried. "They're older than us." Ambassador Lyra Vey stood tall, her shimmering form casting rainbows of light across the marble floor. "I told you," she said coldly. "The humans were not children. They were never weak. Their tanks were practice." For this, Admiral Zirek Tal, his insectoid body looming above the dais, slammed his claws against the table. Mandibles clicked with rage. "Enough lies. Their world will burn. Their machines will be ash." But his eyes betrayed him. Behind his fury, there was fear. In orbit, the Revenant locked onto its target, inside the bridge. Captain Amara Vance stood in the command chair, soaked from the seawater that still dripped from her uniform. The ship's AI pulsed with blue light, its deep voice echoing. "Target acquired. Probability of success, 97%. Firing solution ready." Lieutenant Rourke's hands trembled over the weapons console. "Damn, it feels like the ship is alive." Amara didn't look away from the glowing hologram of the council cruiser. Her jaw was set, her heart steady. "Then let's see what it can do. Fire." The Revenant's cannon unleashed a storm of light. The alien cruiser dissolved instantly, vanishing in silence. The beam carved through space, leaving behind a trail of fire that burned brighter than the stars. The crew gasped. Some wept. Others shouted in triumph. Amara stood unmoved, her eyes fixed on the wreckage. This is only the beginning. But far beyond the battle, the obelisk stirred again. Its black surface cracked open, revealing a core of white-hot energy that pulsed with unnatural hunger. The light of nearby stars dimmed, their fire drawn into the weapon's heart. On the Vindicator, Dr. Chin's face went pale. "It's absorbing stellar energy. If it fires, it could extinguish our sun." The AI's voice thundered, resonant and cold. "Warning. Energy spike detected. The obelisk is preparing to discharge. Estimated time to firing, 6 minutes." Amara's stomach turned to stone. She looked out at the alien fleet still numbering in the thousands and then at the 8. Titans now rising into formation. "Humanity has one chance," she whispered. On Earth, the skies were no longer dark. Of war. 8 Titan-class warships spread across orbit, their cannons beginning to charge. filling the heavens with rivers of blue fire. In the council chamber, alien leaders screamed in panic. Lyra Vey's crystalline form flared with light. "If you fire the obelisk, you will doom us all," she shouted. Admiral Zirektal's voice cut through the chaos, dripping with venom. "Silence. Fire the obelisk." The galaxy held its breath. On the bridge of the Vindicator, the crew braced for impact. The console under Amara's hands glowed so brightly it burned her skin. The command key sinking deeper into its slot. Synchronization. Required, the AI warned, awaiting final command. The obelisk's core pulsed once, twice, each throb brighter than the sun. And then, the deafening roar. It unleashed a beam of pure annihilation straight toward Earth. The screen cuts. 2 black dot silence. That was what struck them first. After the clash of beams, after the roaring storm of light that drowned out even the stars, there was nothing. No hum of power, no thunder of weapons, just a silence so deep it pressed into the bones. On Earth, people stumbled out of shelters. Blinking up at the heavens, half the sky was dark, the other half blazing white with drifting wreckage. Whole continents stood in frozen awe. Then the silence broke. The Galactic Council's armada screamed back into motion. Their silver warships, though scarred and scattered, surged forward. Entire squadrons dived toward Earth, plasma cannons glowing. With murderous intent, on the bridge of the UN's Vindicator, Captain Amara Vance gripped her chair as alarms wailed. Her face glowed with reflected fire from the Titan's charging weapons. "Status?" she demanded. The AI's deep voice rolled through the chamber. "Enemy fleet capacity, reduced by 40%. Remaining, 1,212. Ship's obelisk energy output continues to climb." A bead of sweat slid down Amara's cheek. Humanity had slain the Council's pride once, but the war was only beginning. Across the galaxy, trillions of alien eyes fixed on the broadcast. On a desert world, the insectoid core hives screeched in dismay as they saw their dreadnoughts reduced to ash. On the shining crystal towers of the Ilari homeworld, students gathered in plazas, their luminous bodies flickering in panic. In the methane seas of the Auroch, entire colonies trembled as their leaders argued on the Alal feed. The great myth was dead. Humanity was no longer a joke. Deathworlders had revealed a truth that shattered the Council's story. Earth was not weak. Earth had been hiding. And now, the Titans soared into formation. In the Council spire, the delegates shouted, "Over one another, the humans are traitors," cried the Velen warlord, his emerald scales glowing with rage. "No," countered an Ilari elder, voice trembling like wind through glass. "They are not traitors. They are heirs. Don't you feel it? Those ships carry the mark of the first Empire." The chamber erupted again, half the Council demanding war, half demanding peace. Claws scraped against marble, wings spread wide. Energy flared as tempers boiled. Ambassador Lyra Vey raised her crystalline hands. Her body pulsed with radiant light, silencing some of the chaos. "You mocked them for centuries, called them weak, called them foolish. But look at the skies above Earth. Do those look like primitives to you?" Adrian Holt, the human representative, remained in the center of the chamber. He said nothing yet, his hand resting on the black command key. Eyes locked on the flickering hologram of the battle above his head. The image shifted, showing the obelisk, its black spires opening wider, its white-hot core pulsing with hunger. Gasps filled the chamber. Zirektal, the insectoid admiral, rose to his full height. His mandibles clicked, dripping venom. "Do not be fooled. The obelisk is ours. Humanity will be nothing but ash before it." But there was no laughter now, only fear. In orbit, the Phoenix fleet burned with blue fire. 8 colossal warships formed a wall around Earth, their shields overlapping into a single shimmering barrier. Plasma blasts rained down from the alien armada, shaking the Titans but failing to break them. Shields at 60%, the AI reported. "Hold the wall," Amara ordered. On the surface, Ancient tanks rolled into formation. Their guns aimed skyward not to fire, but to remind humanity of how far they had come. Soldiers stood on their holes, shouting into the storm. Humanity endures. Humanity fights back. The chant echoed across the planet, carried through every broadcast, heard on every world. The crew of the Vindicator felt it too. Their fear turned into fire, their hands steadied on the controls. Targets locked, Lieutenant Rourke reported. Then burn them, Amara commanded. The Titans opened fire. Beams of starfire lanced through the void, lanced through Council. Warships like paper, cruisers shattered. Dreadnoughts split in half. The sky filled with wreckage and fire, but the obelisk only grew brighter. Each destroyed ship fed its hunger, its black core pulsing with stolen light. On the Un's vanguard, alarms screamed. The Titan was heavily damaged, its shields collapsing. Fires raged across its decks. Alien boarding parties swarmed its halls. Captain Rhea Solis, her face streaked with blood, opened a cum channel. Her image flickered onto the Vindicator's screen. "Mara," she said, her voice steady, despite the chaos. "It's been an honor." "No, Rhea." "Wait," Amara cried, rising from her chair. But the Vanguard's engines flared to life. The Titan turned, accelerating straight toward the densest cluster of Council ships. On the Vindicator's bridge, the crew watched in silence, hearts pounding. The Vanguard's core went critical. A sun was born. The explosion tore through hundreds of alien ships, erasing them in a blinding wave of fire. The Council fleet broke apart, formations shattered on Earth. People screamed and cheered, not knowing the cost. In the Council chamber, alien leaders recoiled, some covering their faces in fear. Amara lowered her head. "We will remember your sacrifice." But the victory was short-lived. The obelisk pulsed once, then again. Its black spires unfolded completely, stretching out like claws to grasp the void.
Ow.
The white-hot heart inside it grew brighter, pulling light from nearby stars. On the Vindicator, Dr. Chen's voice trembled. "It's feeding on the Vanguard's explosion. It's growing stronger." The AI's voice boomed. "To obelisk output, catastrophic. Probability of soul collapse, 70% within minutes." Stared at the display. The warship she commanded vibrated under her feet. The command key glowing brighter, demanding her touch. The crew turned to her, waiting. Their faces were lit by the eerie glow of the Titan's core. Fear filled their eyes, but so did trust. Captain Rourke said softly, "What do we do?" Amara looked down at her scorched hands. The Titans were powerful, powerful enough to fight gods. But was it enough? The obelisk's void lance began to charge again, a river of black fire gathering at its heart. On Earth, the sun dimmed a second. Time shadows stretched across cities. The world trembled. In the Council chamber, Lirave's crystalline body glowed crimson with fear. If it fires again, Sol will die. Admiral Zyrek's mandibles clicked in savage delight. "Let the Deathworlders burn." On the Vindicator, the AI's voice roared, "Critical decision required. Starfire release protocol available. Authorization needed." The camera zooms in on Amara's face, eyes wide, jaw clenched, her hand trembling above the glowing command. "Key?" The Titan's cores began to thrum louder, like beating hearts. The void outside lit with gathering fire, and then the screen goes black. The Galactic Council. Chambers shook as the echoes of the Vanguard's sacrifice reverberated across the galaxy. A billion voices watching on distant worlds had just seen something no one thought possible. A human warship, ancient and monstrous, had torn through hundreds of alien cruisers by detonating its own star core. The delegates screamed over one another. The sound was not laughter now, but fear. "Blasphemy," roared the Velen warlord, his green scales flashing like knives. They would rather burn themselves than kneel. A crystalline Alari elder rose, their body glowing with a sharp red shimmer. "Do you not see? They have awakened something. We do not understand. This is not new technology. These ships, they carry the breath of the First Empire." The hall erupted again. Avian nobles screeched, their wings flaring wide. Amphibian delegates pounded the marble with webbed fists. The chamber that once mocked Earth now trembled with panic. At the center of the storm, Commander Adrian Holt stood silent. He held the black command key close to his chest. His jaw was clenched, but his eyes were calm, fixed on the flickering hologram above, Earth's sky, where the Titan fleet held the line against impossible odds. Then the chamber lights flickered. The main hologram shifted, showing something darker, more terrifying. The obelisk, the ancient weapon, was no longer dormant. Its black spires stretched outward, glowing veins running like molten rivers across its stone body. Its core pulsed brighter than a star, swallowing the light of nearby suns. The galaxy froze, and then, with a sound like thunder breaking across eternity, the obelisk opened its maw. The Speaker of the Council slammed his staff down, trying to regain control. Order, order. But the chamber was already in revolt. "This is madness," cried one delegate. "They will destroy everything," shouted another. "The humans must be stopped," bellowed the villain warlord. Ambassador Lirave stood, her crystalline body glowing brighter with every word. "You blind fools. Humanity is not our enemy. They are what your ancestors feared, the ones who built the Titans. The heirs of the stars." Gasps rippled through the chamber. The word heirs was dangerous. It meant legitimacy. It meant destiny. Zyrek Tal, the insectoid admiral, rose from his throne. His mandibles clicked furiously, his wings thrumming with rage. "Do not speak of destiny. The humans are parasites. They will consume us all if we allow it. The obelisk will burn their world, and their legend will end in silence." A young avian senator leaped to his feet, feathers flashing blue. "And if the obelisk destroys Sol, what then? Do you not see? The ripple is already spreading across the stars." All eyes turned to the great dome above. On the hologram, a nearby red dwarf star flickered and then went dark. The entire system died in silence. The chamber erupted again. For the first time in millennia, the Council of Species was divided. Live before the galaxy. In orbit, the Vindicator shook as the obelisk's second wave of energy tore across space. Shields at 22%, as the AI thundered. Structural. Collapse in 4 minutes if exposure continues. On the UN's horizon, Captain Cato's voice crackled through comms. We can't hold this line, Amara. Our cores will overload like the vanguards." Amara's jaw was stone. "Then we die. Standing, better ashes in the void than slaves in their chains." Her crew looked at her. Fear lined their faces, but there was pride too. No one moved to abandon their posts. The AI's voice deepened, resonant and ancient. "Starfire release remains an option, Captain Vance. Synchronization is required. This will exceed human neural tolerance." Amara placed a trembling hand on the glowing command key. Her skin burned where it touched the symbols. Dr. Chen rushed to her side. "Amara, don't. You'll lose yourself. The ship will consume your mind." She did not look at him. Her eyes remained fixed on the blazing void. If this is what it takes, then so be it. On distant worlds, the broadcast continued. Galaxy watched as the obelisk drained the light of suns, its shadow spreading like a black tide. In the Kethmines, slaves lifted their heads, tears streaming down cracked faces. "The humans fight for us," one whispered, the Alari spires. Students began chanting, "Humanity, humanity, humanity." Their crystalline bodies pulsed with light, spreading like wildfire across the city. On the icy moons of the Dracari, soldiers lowered their weapons. It's uncertain if they should still obey the Council. For the first time in history, the galaxy did not laugh at humanity. It listened to them. Zyrek Tal slammed his claws into the table. "Cracking the marble? Deploy every remaining warship. Drive them into the obelisk's fire if you must. Humanity cannot be allowed to rise." A deep-voiced Urith elder shook his stone head. "And if the obelisk turns on us all?" Silence. Zyrek roared. "I would see every star in this galaxy darken before I bow to Earth." He raised his clawed hand toward the hologram of the battle. Fire. Everything. On the Vindicator's bridge, Amara felt the Titan's core thrumming with her heartbeat. The walls around her glowed with ancient light, symbols dancing across. The air that the AI's voice thundered. Synchronization at 20%. Neural resistance detected, increased commitment. Her crew looked on, terrified. Dr. Chen shouted, "Amara, if you link fully, you may never come back. You'll burn your mind into the ship." Amara's lips trembled, but her eyes stayed firm. They laughed at our tanks. They called us weak. If we stop now, they will destroy Earth. If I must give myself to keep humanity alive, then I will. Hands pressed harder on the command key. Blue fire crawled up her arms, searing her flesh, but she did not move. The obelisk's core flared brighter than ever before. Its void lance roared to life, swelling with the power of dying stars. The Council fleet shifted aside, giving their ultimate weapon a clear shot at Earth. On the Vindicator, the AI's voice boomed. Synchronization at 50%. Neural. Collapse probability to percent. "Do you wish to continue, Captain?" Amara's eyes glowed with blue fire. Lips curled into a defiant smile. "Yes." The Titan's cannons lit with impossible light. The galaxy trembled. The screen cuts to black. The sun was dying. From Earth's surface, billions watched as Sol flickered. Shadows stretched unnaturally long across cities. The sky glowed with shifting colors, red, white, and black, as the obelisk's void lance drained its light. Oceans boiled, storms raged. The air itself trembled as if the world knew the end was near. On the bridge of the Un's Vindicator, alarms shrieked. Panels burst in showers of sparks. The massive Titan warship groaned like a wounded beast. Shields at 15%, the AI thundered. Structural stress at maximum tolerance. Captain Amara Vance held fast in her command chair, her face lit by the blinding blue glow of the Titan's core. Sweat ran down her neck, but her voice was unbroken. "Hold the wall. If Earth falls, then humanity dies with it." Lieutenant Rourke shouted above the chaos. "Captain, the fleet is breaking formation. We can't take this much fire." But Amara's gaze never wavered. "We don't break. Not today. Not ever." The void outside lit up again as the obelisk's beam swelled, aiming directly for Earth. The 8 Titans of the Phoenix fleet answered with fire. The horizon, battered but unbroken, unleashed its main cannon. A column of white-blue plasma lanced forward, vaporizing 3 Council cruisers in an instant. The Dominion followed, its broadside batteries cutting through a wave of enemy destroyers like blades through paper. The Ironclad, its hull cracked and scorched, still fired its cannons in defiance. Protecting Earth with every last charge in its core, Earth's night sky glowed with rivers of light as the Titans traded fire with the alien armada. Whole continents below were lit as if by 1,000 suns. On the surface, humanity watched in silence, hearts pounding.
Ow.
Families clung to one another. Soldiers stood atop old tanks, their fists raised to the sky. All across the world, the chant began again, whispered first, then shouted in every language. Humanity endures. Humanity strikes back. The cry echoed across the stars, carried in the Council's broadcast. Inside the Council's spire, chaos raged. "You see it?" Lyra Vey shouted, her crystalline body blazing with shifting colors. "The humans are holding back your fleets. 8 ships against thousands, and still they stand." The Velen warlord pounded the marble floor with his claws. "They stand. Only for a moment. The obelisk will end them." But his words faltered when the chamber lights dimmed. The obelisk had just consumed another nearby star. Delegates gasped in horror. Some wept openly. Zyrek Tal, the insectoid admiral, hissed furiously. "Do not lose your nerve. Humanity is a disease. If we do not burn them out now, they will rule us all." Ambassador Lyra's voice cut sharp as glass. "Maybe they should." The chamber froze. The suggestion hung like a blade. For the first time in millennia, the Council itself teetered on the edge of collapse. Back in orbit, The horizon took a direct hit. The obelisk's energy beam grazed its side, tearing through armor, ripping whole decks into the void. Fires consumed its interior. The crew screamed as the ship began to break apart. On the Vindicator's bridge, Amara's eyes widened. Horizon, fall back. Repeat, fall back. But Captain Cato's voice crackled across comms, steady despite the chaos. Negative indicator. If we retreat, Earth dies. His image appeared on screen for a brief moment, his face calm, smoke curling behind him. He gave a small, tired smile. Tell them, humanity did not bow. Then the Horizon's engines ignited at full. Hurled itself directly into the obelisk's beam, shielding the rest of the fleet for a precious moment. The Titan exploded in a brilliant wave of starfire. On Earth, the skies turned blue for an instant. Billions screamed his name. The fleet wept but used the opening. Remaining Titans unleashed everything they had, tearing through another wave of council ships. On the Vindicator, the crew shook with grief. But Amara stood unbroken. We fight harder, she growled. For every life lost, we fire tenfold. Dr. Chen's eyes burned with both sorrow and awe. Captain, the Horizon's death bought us time, but the obelisk is still charging, stronger now than ever. The AI's voice deepened. Starfire. Release remains the only option. Amara pressed her hand harder against the command key, blue light crawling up her arm, searing her flesh. Her voice trembled, but stayed firm. Then take it. Take everything from me. On alien worlds, silence spread. The galaxy that once mocked humanity now stared in disbelief. Children of distant empires whispered, "Are they the ancients?" Soldiers on conquered planets clenched their fists, hope igniting in their hearts. Even council citizens, once loyal, began to doubt their leaders. Across the stars, for the first time in history, the galaxy wanted humanity to win. The obelisks. Black spires folded inward, its void heart pulsing like a living star. Energy gathered, brighter and brighter, until the entire void turned white. Warning, the AI thundered. Obelisk beam at maximum charge. Estimated impact, 20 seconds. The crew's faces lit with fear. Rourke whispered, "This is it." Mara's voice was steady, though her body trembled with pain. This is where we show them what humanity truly is. Titans aligned, their cores glowing brighter than ever. The obelisk fired, a beam of annihilation, wide enough to swallow planets, roared toward Earth. The Titans fired back. 8 colossal streams of starfire lanced forward, colliding with the void lance in a storm of energy that shook the cosmos. The clash turned the solar system into daylight. Every screen in the galaxy went white. Delegates in the council chamber fell silent, shielding their eyes. On Earth, the people screamed in unison, fists raised to the burning sky. Amara's voice echoed across the fleet. For Earth, for humanity, fire. The beams collided, brighter, louder, until space itself seemed to shatter, and then the screen goes black. The stars themselves were dying, across the galaxy. Suns that had burned for billions of years now flickered like dying candles. Whole. Civilizations stood in their streets, staring upward in horror as their skies dimmed. Oceans cooled, crops froze, and the night devoured the day. The source of the darkness was clear. The obelisk, a colossal black monument floating beyond Earth's orbit, had awakened. Its spires opened like claws, drinking light feeding on suns. Its core pulsed with a terrible hunger, brighter than any star. On the bridge of the Un's Vindicator, Captain Amara Vance held her seat as the Titan shuddered. Sparks rained from broken conduits. The walls hummed with an ancient energy. Resonating with her heartbeat, solar integrity at 60%, the AI thundered. If unchecked, Sol will collapse in 7 minutes. Lieutenant Rourke shouted. Captain, the fleet can't hold. Their numbers keep coming. On the view screen, alien cruisers poured white plasma into the Titan's shields. Blue light flared, cracking, but holding. For now, Amara's eyes burned as she stared at the obelisk. We didn't wake these ships to die hiding in orbit, humanities. Fight is here. She placed both hands on the glowing command key. its ancient symbols burning against her skin. The AI's deep voice rumbled. Captain. Starfire release protocol available. Warning. Neural synchronization required. Probability of human survival, less than 15%. The crew froze. Dr. Robert Chen shook his head violently. Amara, no, if you merge with the Titans. Core, you may never come back. Amara looked at him, her eyes reflecting blue fire. Then I'll go where I must. Humanity is counting on us. The screen trembled. The Revenant, the Ironclad, the Dominion, all 7 surviving Titans turned their massive cannons toward the obelisk. The ancient warships glowed like newborn suns, and the galaxy held its breath in the council spire. Alien leaders watched in stunned silence as the Titans formed their line. The Crystalline Alari Elder rose, light flashing across their faceted body. It is true. I feel it. That energy. It is not new. It is not theirs. It is ours. No older. It is the power of the First Empire. The chamber erupted in panic. Some shouted that the humans were usurpers. Others whispered that perhaps the legends were true, that the ancient rulers of the stars had returned, reborn in flesh and blood. Ambassador Lyra Vey raised her voice above the chaos. For centuries we mocked them. For ages we kept them in the shadows. But the truth is here.
Ow!
Humanity was forged in fire. They are not weak. They are the lost heirs of power itself. Zyrek Tal slammed his clawed hand onto the table, his mandibles dripping venom. Lies. They are vermin who found relics they cannot control. The obelisk will teach them humility. But his voice trembled. He knew what the others were beginning to realize. The obelisk itself was not alien. It was human. On the Vindicator's bridge, the world shook. Synchronization at 30%, the AI reported. Neural strain increasing. Captain Vance's vital signs unstable. Amara's body shivered as the Titan's consciousness pressed deeper into her mind. She saw visions flashes of a golden age when humanity ruled the stars. She saw vast fleets, tens of thousands of Titans, carving through galaxies. She saw alien empires kneeling in submission, and then she saw a shadow. The obelisk. It's the same weapon that now threatened Earth, a weapon humanity had once created to fight something far darker. She gasped. This isn't their weapon. We built it. We lost control of it. Dr. Chen froze. You mean? Yes, she said, voice breaking. The Council didn't build the obelisk. It was ours. A creation of the First Empire, a godkiller. The bridge went silent. The crew stared in shock. The alien fleet continued to swarm. Despite their terror, they obeyed Zyrek's command. Thousands of warships dove at the Titans. Pouring plasma into their shields, the Yunzi just staggered under a barrage, its hull cracking, fire bursting across its surface. Hundreds of human soldiers were lost in a single volley. Shields at 9%, the AI reported. Catastrophic failure imminent. Amara's eyes glowed brighter, veins of blue fire crawling up her neck. Synchronize. All Titans. Now, the AI's voice deepened, resonant as thunder. Starfire release initializing. Omega convergence. Required warning. Human neural collapse probability 8 or 7%. One by one, the other Titan captains pressed their command keys into their consoles. Across the fleet, 8 warships lit up in perfect unison, forming a vast lattice of blue energy around Earth. On Earth's surface, the ocean shimmered, mountains trembled. The sky itself began to glow with streaks of light. Billions of humans cried out in awe and terror. The chant rose again. Humanity, humanity, humanity. Inside the council spire, the delegates were no longer united. A dozen species stood and shouted for peace. If the humans wield the power of the ancients, we must bow before them. Others screamed for blood. Destroy them now, before they rise. Lyra Vey stepped forward, her crystalline body glowing like dawn. Do you not see? The galaxy has lived in the shadow of a lie. Humanity is not weak. They are the storm we were warned about. If we unleash the obelisk, we awaken something none of us can control. Zyrek Tal rose to his full height, his mandibles opening wide. "Then let it wake," he hissed. "I will burn their sun to ash. Let the galaxy see who rules." Chamber erupted in violence. Guards drew weapons. Delegates shouted, some fleeing, some fighting. The once mighty council was collapsing before the eyes of the galaxy. On the Vindicator, the synchronization surged. 70%. The AI thundered, neural activity spiking. Captain Vance's consciousness at risk. Amara's body trembled violently. Her veins glowed like molten rivers. She clutched the command key, refusing to let go. We were forged in fire. We endure. We fight. The AI's voice softened. "Captain, if you continue, you will cease to exist as you are." Amara's eyes glowed with blinding blue light. She whispered, "Then let me burn." Rise. The Titan's cores roared in unison. Energy surged between them, weaving into a colossal sphere of pure light. The obelisk's void heart opened fully. Its beam of annihilation swelled, wider than a planet, aimed directly at Earth's. "Sun," the galaxy screamed. On the bridge of the Vindicator, the AI's final warning echoed. Starfire release armed. Awaiting final confirmation. Impact in 30 seconds. Amara's glowing eyes locked on the burning void. Her hand hovered above the final switch. In the council chamber, Zyrek roared, "Do it! Fire the obelisk!" Lyrave's crystalline form blazed like a star. "You'll kill us all." The obelisk's beam erupted. At the same instant, the 8 Titans unleashed their starfire, their combined fury roaring into the void. Light and darkness collided. The solar system vanished in a storm. It's brighter than creation. The screen fades to black. The universe burned white. The obelisk's void lance met the Titans. Starfire released in a clash so bright it erased the stars from the sky. On Earth, people screamed and prayed as the heavens split in half. One side glowed with blue-white brilliance, the other with black fire that consumed light itself. Oceans rose in tidal waves. Cities shook. The Earth itself groaned, as if the planet could feel the cosmic war above. On the Vindicator's bridge, Captain Amara Vance shook violently, her body glowing with the same blue fire as the Titan's core. Every vein in her skin lit like molten cracks. Synchronization at 80%, the AI thundered. Warning, Captain Vance's neural stability failing. Dr. Robert Chen gripped her shoulder, his voice desperate. "Amara, stop this. You'll burn yourself out." But her eyes, now glowing like stars, never left the screen. "If I fall, Earth stands. It's all that matters." The void outside pulsed brighter, shaking the solar system. On the ground, the world united. In New York, survivors held each other in the ruins, their eyes fixed on the burning sky. In Delhi, families lit candles, chanting prayers. In Lagos, children raised their hands to the heavens, shouting the words that had become humanity's cry, "We endure, we strike back." The chant spread across continents, carried on broadcasts, echoing into orbit where soldiers aboard the Titans heard their world calling to them, and for the first time the galaxy joined in. On alien worlds, conquered people whispered the same words. In Ilari spires, crystalline bodies pulsed in rhythm with Earth's chant. Even on worlds still loyal to the Council, ordinary citizens trembled with awe. The galaxy no longer saw humans as weak. They saw them as warriors standing against the impossible in the Council spire. Pandemonium reigned. Delegates screamed as the clash of beams made the entire chamber tremble. Marble cracked beneath their feet. Glowing banners of ancient empires flickered and fell. The Velen warlords shrieked in rage. This cannot be. No Deathworlders can defy the obelisk. But the crystalline Lyra vase stood tall, her body glowing, like a prism of dawn. Open your eyes. Look at them. 8 ships against 1,000 and they hold. Humanity is not weak. They're the lost heirs. The first empire lives again, the chamber gasped. To speak those words was heresy. But no one could deny the truth glowing in the skies. Admiral Zyrek Tal slammed his claws against the table, his mandibles snapping in fury. Enough. If the Council wavers now, we are finished. Fire everything. Crush them. But even as he spoke, fear filled his compound eyes. The obelisk, their ultimate weapon, was not winning. On the Vindicator, consoles exploded one after another. Crew members screamed, thrown to the deck. Fire filled the air, shields collapsing. The AI roared, 5% remaining. The UN's Dominion groaned as alien torpedoes ripped into its side. Entire decks tore away, hundreds of humans sucked into the void. Still, its cannons fired until the last moment, lancing through 3 enemy destroyers before going dark. The UN's ironclad, burning from bow to stern, charged forward, ramming itself into an enemy dreadnought. Both ships vanished in a fireball that lit the void on Earth. People wept as the names of the lost ships echoed across the feeds, but they did not despair. Instead, their cries grew louder. Humanity, humanity, humanity. On the bridge, Amara's body convulsed. Synchronization. At 95%, the AI warned. Warning, neural collapse imminent. Dr. Chen screamed, "You're killing yourself. You can't hold this." Amara's lips trembled, her eyes glowing brighter with every heartbeat. "We were mocked for tanks, called weak, but this is who we are. Humanity doesn't surrender." She pressed both hands harder onto the command key. The symbols burned into her skin, merging her with the Titan itself. The AI's voice deepened, now almost human. "Captain, your mind is becoming one with mine," Amara's voice came out in a whisper, but it carried across the ship. "Then let it be. If I must become the Vindicator so humanity lives, then I accept." Her body arched in agony as blue light consumed her. The Titan's cores pulsed together, linked by Amara's. Sacrifice. Energy surged between them, weaving into a single storm of starfire. The obelisk's void lance faltered, pushed back by the growing force. Cracks spread across its black spires, glowing white-hot. The weapon that had devoured stars now trembled. Before Earth's defiance, on the council floor, silence fell. For the first time in ages, the galaxy saw the council afraid. Zyrek's voice broke into a hiss. "Impossible, it cannot fall." It was eternal. Lyravay's voice rang out, clear as crystal. "Nothing is eternal, not even fear." On the Vindicator, the crew struggled to keep their positions. Sparks rained. Flames roared. "Captain Vance's vitals critical," the AI announced. But synchronization complete. Starfire release at maximum. The Titans roared as one. Their combined beams surged forward, overwhelming the void lance. The obelisk groaned, its core cracking, shards of molten black stone breaking free. On Earth, the sky turned blue again for the first time in hours. Billions screamed with joy, tears streaming down their faces. They knew they felt that the tide had turned. But victory was not yet won. The obelisk pulsed one final time. Its void heart split open, revealing a swirling abyss deeper than space. Itself, a shockwave tore outward, slamming into the Titan fleet. The UN's Tempest spun out of formation, hull torn open. The UN's Eternity shuddered, its core overheating. On the Vindicator, Amara's body fell limp, but her glowing eyes snapped open again, not human anymore. But something older, something vast. Her voice, layered with the Titan's own, echoed across. "Every ship and every screen in the galaxy, we are awake." The council chamber fell silent. The galaxy itself froze. The obelisk screamed and exploded. Into a storm of light, the screen cuts to black. The galaxy held its breath. The obelisk's void heart split open, flooding the heavens with darkness. The Titan fleet glowing with searing. Starfire answered with one voice. Their beams tore into the ancient weapon, pushing it to the brink. On Earth, the skies burned blue and black. People clung to each other in city ruins, their faces lit by the cosmic war raging above. The oceans trembled, waves rising like mountains. The ground shook as if the planet itself were caught in the clash. On the Vindicator, Captain Amara Vance's body lay slumped in her chair, but her glowing eyes snapped open again. Her voice was no longer just her on it, was fused with the ship, layered and resonant. "We are awake," she whispered. Her crew turned to her in shock. Some trembled, some crossed themselves in prayer, but none dared move. The Titan's cores thundered louder, their ancient memories unlocking. Humanity was no longer commanding the ships. Humanity had become them, and the obelisk screamed. The obelisk unleashed its final attack. Its beam widened until it seemed to swallow the entire solar system. Stars dimmed across nearby systems. Space warped, pulling asteroids and debris into a spiraling abyss. The Titans answered in unison, their beams converging into one colossal spear of light. The clash shook the void. Planets in distant orbits cracked, moons shattered. Every ship caught in between alien or human was torn apart in silence. On Earth, people fell to their knees, believing they were witnessing the end of all things. The Council's broadcast reached trillions of screens and across the galaxy. Entire civilizations cried out in terror or awe. The Council chamber itself trembled. Marbles split. Chandeliers crashed. Delegates screamed. Some fled. Others fell into silence, realizing history was being rewritten before their eyes. Ambassador Lyra Vey stood tall, her crystalline form blazing with light. "Witness it," cried above the chaos. "The humans are not weak. They are the storm. They are the heirs." The obelisk cracked, its black spires shattered, molten fragments tumbling into the void. Its void heart flared one final time, pulsing like a dying sun. And then, the soundless detonation that rippled across the stars, the obelisk exploded. A shockwave raced outward, flattening what remained of the Council fleet. Thousands of alien ships were ripped apart in an instant, erased as if they had never existed. The Titans held their line, their shields blazing, their hulls groaning under the force. One by one, they staggered, but they endured. On Earth, the night sky turned blue. Again. The sun burned brighter, freed from the obelisk's hunger. Humanity screamed with joy, tears streaming down their faces. For the first time in galactic history, the Death Worlders had done the impossible. They had destroyed the Council's ultimate weapon. Silence fell across alien worlds. The broadcasts continued. Citizens of dozens of empires stared at their screens in disbelief. Some wept, some cheered, some bowed their heads, whispering prayers to a species they had once mocked. In the Council chamber, the delegates sat stunned. The Velen warlord, once proud and mocking, collapsed into his chair, his scaled face pale. "They destroyed it," he whispered. "The obelisk is gone." Lyra Vey stepped forward, her body shimmering like dawn. "The age of lies is over. Humanity has risen. The Council is broken. From this day, the galaxy belongs not to fear, but to those who endure." No one laughed, no one jeered. For the first time, the chamber bowed its head in silence. On the Vindicator, smoke filled the air, consoles flickered. Crew members groaned in pain. Half the ship was in ruins, but it still stood. Dr. Chen stumbled to Amara's side. Her body was limp, her skin burned with glowing cracks, but her eyes still shone blue. "Amara, can you hear me?" he whispered. Her lips parted. Her voice was not just hers, but the voice of the Titan itself, deep and resonant. "We are here. We are one. Humanity has awakened us." The crew froze. They realized then, Amara was no longer only human. She had become something greater. A bridge between flesh and the ancient machines. And through her, Titans spoke again. "The war is not over. Far beyond Earth, at the blackest reaches of the void, fragments of the shattered obelisk drifted silently. Most were dead, glowing, faintly with molten cracks, but one fragment pulsed. Once, then again, it sent out a signal, a whisper across the galaxy. Not to the Council, not to the Titans, but to something older. Something that had slumbered beyond the edge of known space. On the Vindicator's bridge, Amara's glowing eyes widened. She gasped, her voice trembling with both awe and dread. "They heard us." The crew looked at her in confusion. "Who?" Rourke whispered. The stars outside flickered. For a moment, the void itself seemed to move, as if shadows darker than space shifted in the distance. Her voice came again. heavy with the weight of ancient memory, the ones the obelisk was built to fight. The screen shook. A low hum rolled. Across the void felt more than heard. Something vast stirred in the galactic dark, and then the feed cut to black.